Hi, welcome to Educator.com. Today we're going to do our first lecture on the Introduction to Economics. So let's dive right into the material. In today's lesson overview, we're going to really define what economics is really about. So we're going to really define what is economics and what is the problem of scarcity that exists for every individual and business. So this is really the setup of what this course is really about. And then we're going to identify the 4 factors of production or resources. We're going to describe why individuals must make choices. We're going to understand the role of opportunity cost in making decisions. And then finally, we're going to explain the difference between positive and normative economics. So if you really had to figure out the 2 biggest things in economics, you're really going to deal with the problem of scarcity, the idea that you can't have everything you want, and the role of opportunity costs, the idea that nothing's free. Everything that you do is going to really incur an opportunity cost. So basic economics, so for the College Board, the first section is going to be basic economics, and this is what's contained in the College Board as far as this curriculum here. So you have the study of microeconomics requires students to understand that in any economy, the existence of limited resources along with unlimited wants results in the need to make choices. An effective AP course, therefore, begins by introducing the concepts of opportunity costs and trade-offs. And so that's what we're going to start off with there. This is a fuller link to getting to the College Board curriculum. So what is economics? What exactly is economics? So it's a study of how people seek to satisfy their needs and wants by making choices. Now one thing I will kind of clarify, one thing I do teach my students actually is that there really is no such thing as a need. So for now, we're going to leave this in there. And so we're going to leave the needs in there, but eventually we're going to realize that really there is no need. And I'll explain why a little bit later here. But the reason why we have to make choices is that the idea of scarcity. Okay, so the idea of scarcity is that the concept of having unlimited wants versus having limited resources. So everyone deals with scarcity because resources are scarce. University of Chicago economist Gary Becker, he put it well when he says that economics is the art of making the most of life. So again, whether you're a business, whether you're an individual, doesn't matter what it is, it's really the economics is a problem of figuring out what you have and how do you allocate the resources to make the best of the situation. And that's really what economics is about. And that's the starting point that we're going to start with. So what are different types of resources? So there are actually 4 different types of resources. Some economists will actually disagree and say there are only 3, but let's go ahead and go with 4 here. The first one is land. Second one is labor. Third one is capital, and there's 2 different types of capital. And then the 4th one is entrepreneurship. So let's go back here and discuss what each of these resources actually are. The first one, land, is any natural resource that are used to make goods and services. So this is any God-given resource that's just out there. You know, some countries have more of this particular resource than others. For example, the United States probably has a lot more land than Hong Kong, for example. There's also labor. Labor is the effort that people devote for a paid task. So labor is things, you know, sometimes it can be manual labor, sometimes it can be a little bit more white collar, but labor is basically used as an input to produce an output. And then you have capital, and there's 2 different types of capitals. Any human-made resource used to create other goods and services. And one type of capital is actually physical capital. So for example, this tool, this pen I'm using, it's one type of capital. Type of physical capital, and this building that I'm filming this in, it's another type of physical capital. Another type of capital is human capital, the skills and knowledge through education and experience. You know, as you're watching this, hopefully my goal is for you to build some human capital. And then finally, there's entrepreneurship. So a person who uses the 3 factors of production to create goods and services. Because we could have these 3 factors of production, but if no one actually takes initiative and takes a risk, then there's not going to be any new products or services that are actually produced in the economy. So it really takes that entrepreneurship aspect in order to combine the 3 other factors of production. So let's go back to needs and wants. So what are a common list of needs out there? Again, this list could go on and on. In my AP classes, in my AP classes, in my regular econ classes, I have students put down the different needs that they have as high school students. And sometimes students will say, I need a movie ticket, I need a car, a 5 on the AP economics exam. They need food, obviously. They need internet access, need clothing maybe, television, friends, and water. And again, there are a myriad of needs and wants. And really the distinction sometimes gets blurred. Sometimes when students say that they need to go to the restroom, they really need to go to the restroom. So basically the definition that I'm going with that really helps to understand what economics is about is that there's no alternative. So let's take a look. What are things that we might possibly actually not need, maybe want? Let's mark off the easy ones first. Movie tickets. Well, there definitely is an alternative to movie tickets. Movie tickets, instead of watching movies, you can rent a video, DVD, stream Netflix, right? Car. Well, I mean, it'd be nice to have a car, but instead of having a car, you could absolutely, walk, ride a bicycle. It'd be great to get a 5 on the AP Microeconomics exam. I'll do whatever I can to get you to that 5, but you could get a 4. You could get a 3. You could even not take the AP exam. That there definitely is an alternative here. Television. Especially in this age of technology, you could use a smartphone. Definitely something that you could substitute a television with. You don't need a television. Friends. It's great to have friends, but what's an alternative to friends? You can have family, right? You can get a dog, right? Definitely is an alternative. Internet access. Okay, internet access. Well, what about writing a letter to your friend rather than email? So, internet access, it definitely helps in research, but you can go to a library and actually, you can actually check books, real books, without looking online for resources. Clothing. Is there a substitute for clothing? Absolutely. You can spend the night in prison. If you're naked, then you might get arrested. That definitely is a substitute. And we can get to food and water. And food, you could substitute that for fasting. And then water, eventually maybe the human body requires water, but a substitute, it doesn't have to be pleasant, a substitute to water could be death, right? So there's all these different substitutes for anything, so there is no need, okay? There is no need. Okay, there are no needs. They're all wants. Again, in my econ classes, it takes maybe a week for students to absorb this, and they get a kick out of this for the entire semester. They come up to me and say, I need to go to the restroom. And I tell them, no, you don't need to go to the restroom. You want to go to the restroom. Do we need to write this out? No, you don't need to do this. You don't need to do anything, right? So once students get into this concept that you don't need anything, then it really gets to the point of what economics is about, that we have unlimited wants and we make choices based on that. So again, the definition that we're going to work with for need is that there's no other alternative. So there's no other alternative, so we do not need anything. Absolutely. Everything is a want. So economics is about placing the value on things that you want and making choices based on the wants. So we want. You want to get a 5 on this AP exam, but you also want to study. You want to hang out with your friends, but you also want to hang out with your family. So when you choose one thing, you're giving up something. So you definitely don't need any one thing. There's always an alternative for something that you choose to do. So every choice has a cost. So kind of a second kind of corollary to the fact that you don't need anything is that nothing is free. Absolutely nothing. Nothing is free. That's right. Nothing is free. So when you make a choice, the best alternative that you gave up as a result is known as the opportunity cost. This is the bread and butter of economics, the idea of opportunity cost. You're always giving something up when you choose something. So all the possible things that you would give up is referred to as a trade-off, every choice, however large or small, will incur an opportunity cost. So you're watching this lecture, you could be cleaning up your room. You could be watching a movie. There's all these different things that you could be doing, so it's not free. You may not be actually paying any money, but it definitely is not free. There's always going to be opportunity cost for whatever decision that you choose to do. Positive and normative economics. We'll go over what's the difference between positive economics and normative economics. Well, positive economics deals with the branch of economic analysis that describes the way the economy actually works. So positive economics, one way to phrase an economic statement would be, if a new tax is implemented, the state will collect $1 million in new revenue. So this is positive. There's no judgment. It's just a bit factual. It's an if and then statement. So positive economics is dealing with the way that world actually works. In this course, we tend to focus a lot on positive economics, the idea that if this takes place, then this is what's going to happen. So I try to phrase these things in a positive manner. The other way of looking at things is normative economics. And so what is normative economics? Well, that's a branch of economic analysis that interjects subjective claims on how the economy should work. So you take that same previous statement and you just rearrange the wording and you get something similar to this. The government should, and that's the operative word here, should raise taxes. No, there's no create here. The government should raise taxes on higher income families in order to raise more revenue. Again, this is an opinion. It's subject to debate. And so normative statements are things where subjectivity is implemented in your decision making, whereas positive economics is more of an if-then scenario here. So again, there's room in economics for both, but for the most part, this course is going to deal with positive economics, how things happen if one chooses to do something, if you decide to hire one more unit of labor, then how many more units of output is going to be created, rather than whether you should or shouldn't. So once in a while, yes, we do delve into normative economics, but the primary focus of this course is positive economics. So marginal analysis, another big topic to understand in microeconomics. So what the heck is marginal analysis? So marginal analysis, or thinking at the margin, is deciding whether to do or use one additional unit of some resource. So most decisions in life are not all or nothing propositions. It involves deciding whether or not to consume the next unit. Marginal analysis is the key to understanding microeconomics. So deciding whether or not to do your homework, it really isn't about doing 3 hours of homework. It's usually marginal. It's maybe a minute by minute, hour by hour decision making. And most decision that firms or individuals make isn't whether or not to consume 5 donuts, or it isn't whether or not to hire 5 workers. It's whether or not to hire the next worker, to eat the next donut, to watch the next lecture. Life is all about marginal decision making. So let's take an example on how some of these basic concepts would actually play out here. So is the following statement, is it positive or is it normative? And let's explain here. So the government should provide a safety net for those in society that are incapable of taking care of themselves. So this is a great sentiment. It's a great thing, but the key word here is should. Okay, so should, what that implies is that this is a normative. This is a normative issue. So there's a normative statement here. Now, one way to actually turn a normative statement into a positive statement would be if the government provides a safety net for citizens, income taxes will be increased. So again, this is more of a positive statement rather than a value-based judgment, which is what normative economics would be. Another example, let's turn this following statement, so the following statement here, the following normative statement, into a positive statement. You should get a 5 on the AP Microeconomics exam. again, that's a great thing. Getting a 5 is an absolute achievement, but it's really a normative issue. So let's turn this into a positive statement here. You should get a 5. Well, let's change it to if you spend 15 hours studying AP Microeconomics on Educator.com, you will get a 5 on microeconomics. Again, one of the things that I do in my AP econ class, in my regular econ classes, I try to stay away from making normative statements, even certain things that might sound like common sense. For example, you shouldn't cheat. Well, you know what? That's a normative statement. One way I try to create an incentive for students would be, if you cheat, then you will get a referral, you'll get detention, your grade will be lowered, etc. So that's one way to turn a normative statement into a positive statement. So even things like, should I do my homework, Mr. Park? I'll answer them, well, if you want to get a better grade in my class, then do my homework. So normative economics really deals with value judgment, and it's really subjective, whereas positive economics deals with completing a task, doing something, and finding the appropriate consequences or rewards as a result. And so in economics, it's basically the same issue. If the government raises taxes, they'll create more revenue, but whether or not they should or shouldn't, that's really a normative issue. Another example would be, let's say as a teacher, you make $70,000 a year at your current job as a teacher for XYZ school district. You're considering a job offer from ABC school district in which the pay is $100,000 a year. Should you accept the new job? Again, this is a normative issue. This is a normative issue. You'd have to really do a benefit cost analysis. So economics really is figuring out, what are the benefits and costs. Now, in this particular job, XYZ school district is offering $75,000 a year, whereas ABC is charging $100,000 a year for your services, basically. So again, from a pure monetary standpoint, obviously it makes sense to go to ABC. But again, there's non-monetary considerations. For example, we don't have enough information. Maybe ABC school district is 2 hours from where you live, whereas XYZ is maybe 1 minute away. So you really don't have enough information. So this is really delving into normative economics. Now, one thing actually, if money is the only concern, then there actually is a way to make a decision, or at least figure out that if you stayed at that job, what the economic profit or economic loss is. One equation that you might want to commit to memory here. There's not a whole lot of equations in this course to really memorize, but this is actually one of them that will be helpful in going over problems dealing with opportunity costs that actually touch upon money. For example, a problem that deals with $75,000 a year versus a $100,000 a year job. So the equation would be economic profit equals accounting profit minus opportunity cost. So again, economics is really about not how much money you're making, but considering how much you're making compared to what you could have been making. So in this example, if you're teaching at a job that makes $75,000 and you decide to forego a job that takes $100,000, that gives you $100,000, then basically your opportunity cost is, your next best alternative is a $100,000 job, and so your economic profit is actually negative $25,000. So you're basically incurring a loss of $25,000. So basically in this situation, not only are you you are making money, but the fact is you could have been making $25,000 more. So if you decide to stay at your job, then your opportunity cost is actually it's $100,000, so your economic profit is negative $25,000. So that's really if you do take into consideration only the monetary factors, but including non-monetary factors, you really do a benefit cost analysis, and it really depends on different factors. For example, if you've been 12 years at a particular school, you may have more loyalty to a school and decide to take a lesser amount. So whether you should or shouldn't, again, economics really is about choice and doing a cost-benefit analysis and analyzing, doing marginal analysis. So all these things come into consideration. So there's no really definitive answer for a question like this. And another example, let's say that after school you're faced with three options. Let's say watching television, reading a book, or cleaning up the house. So in order of preference, you prefer cleaning up the house to reading a book, but you prefer watching television to cleaning up the house. So the first thing, according to this scale, what is the opportunity cost of watching television, is the first thing that you'd prefer is watching television. And the second thing that you prefer would be to clean the house. So I'm sure a favorite activity of yours. And the third thing you'd want to do is read a book. So there's three different things that you are doing here. So what is the opportunity cost of watching television here? So again, the definition of opportunity cost, again, doesn't hurt to commit to memory. What is opportunity cost? Opportunity cost here is the next best alternative of a decision that you make here. So opportunity cost is basically the value of the choice you did not make. So what is the opportunity cost of watching television? So if you decide to watch television, so if you decide I'm going to go ahead and watch TV, then the opportunity cost here is cleaning the house. It's actually, again, it's not really reading a book, because that's what you would have done on your third list of priority. It could be a trade-off, but the opportunity cost is the next best alternative. So thank you for watching Educator.com.